So we're going to get started with Power Apps by building a simple asset tracking um, application. So what I've done is I've created a Excel spreadsheet and saved that within side of OneDrive. So I'm just going to open up that spreadsheet to show you. And it's basically a spreadsheet with some columns. So I have description, location, serial number, owner, a comment. That's really the only columns I have as far as my asset tracking goes. And then I have another table that has full name, first name, last name, and I have locations of where the assets may be. So main office, downtown office, boardroom, lunchroom. So these extra columns are added by the Power App, so those aren't part of the table. So what you would want to do as an example, if I was creating a locations table, I would just create a new sheet, just call it locations. Site A, Site B, Site C, as an example. I would then highlight the data, insert, and select table. This will create my table. It has a header in it. Hit OK. And now I have a table saved and I can give this a name. Rename this test, doesn't really matter. I also probably want to name the table, so that is important. Instead of table 4, let's give this a name of test 1. Now, one of the things using the Excel online, you can actually rename tables. So as you can see, it did not save that as test 4, so I'd have to actually open this up in the desktop app to work with the table to rename the table, but you get the idea of naming tables here. So I've already created the 3 tables that I'm going to have. As you can see, I have asset table called TBL assets, locations, and owner table. So I have all 3 of those tables created. So let's just close out of. Next thing I want to do is, if I go back to office.com, is I would click on Power Apps. So that's just this button here. So let me just close this down. We'll go to Power Apps. So when you open up Power Apps, you get prompted with, I can start from a data source, create my own app. I have a bunch of apps created already. I can do some online training. And I'm going to create a Canvas app. So we're going to start with a data source. It's going to be Excel Online. So I can select Excel Online. That'll bring up Power App. And it's going to ask me what, now it wants to know which data source or that we want to connect to. So there's many different new connections, but right now I'm logged in as admin. So I'm going to select OneDrive, and then it's going to list all the potential workbooks that may have tables in them. We named our asset tracking webinar was the workbook that I created. And then you'll see now I have table 4 listed here, plus all the other tables that I want. So I'm just going to start off with our asset table, hit connect. So you can see it's don't need to know any sort of programming to actually do this. It's now loading and creating a sample app based off of my data. So as part of that sample app, it's created a browse screen, which has a bunch of information on it, a detail window that has more information, and then an edit screen, which has some other information on it. We're going to get started with modifying this app now. So before we edit the app, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to run the app. So if we hit the preview app button here in the top right-hand corner, you'll notice I now have the app. So the main screen looks like this. I can drill into one of these by clicking View Item Details, which will bring me in the Item Details screen. Then I can also edit a specific item. So as an example, I can change the owner to be Tom here. I can hit the Submit button, Save button, and it'll go ahead and save that change. If I go back to ThinkPad, as you can see, if I drill into it, I can see the owner is now Tom. So it's live. It's updated the spreadsheet, my asset tracking spreadsheet with this data. So now to close out of the preview mode, I just hit this button here to close out. I'm now back in the edit mode and I can go ahead and edit my app. So let's start by making this app a little better. So we're going to start off by giving on the browse screen, our first screen, we're going to give change the title. So it's just as simple as changing we'll just call it asset tracking. Next thing we're going to do is change, if I click on this entire thing, you'll notice there's a gallery where it says browse gallery 1. So this is a gallery of different items that I may have added. You can easily add an item by clicking this plus button. So this gallery, we want to modify this. So I can select the layout I want. So I could have different layouts. As an example, I could have image and title, just title. So if I just did title, it's going to look something like that, where it's just going to be titles of each item. So we'll go back to title, subtitle, and body, and then I'm going to edit the fields to change which fields I want. So as an example, instead of comment, I'm going to have this to be description. As you'd see, as I'm making changes, it's changing what I'm seeing on the screen. So description is going to be the top, and then we want location, and then we're going to say the owner as an example. So as you can see, I've modified it. It's saved those changes. Next thing I want to do is maybe I can move around fields. So as an example, I would select the top item in the gallery. And then as an example, if I want lunchroom over here, as you can see, it's moved to every one of the remaining fields. So I could move that around, change the size, change color, all sorts of things. So example, if I want lunchroom to be blue, I can go to the properties of that specific field, color, and we could use our GBA values, or I could just select a color. I can change this to, the word blue as an example. As you can see, it's changed it and changed it on the form for me. So very easy to modify and make things, I can just select something and change it to be bold as an example. It'll change, as you see, it changed the font weight, set it to be bold, or it can set it to be light. So a lot of different options to modify our asset tracking app here. The other thing I can do is apply a theme. So I could say I want to be, forest as an example. Now you can see, or brown, or red. So very simple to modify the app to change it to exactly how we want it to look. So let's do dark blue. That jumps out. We'll leave it as red here just for now. The other thing with the gallery is if I've selected the gallery, which I'm still on the gallery here, so I can select from the tree view different options, different items, and it'll actually change it on the form that I'm looking at, or screen I'm looking at. But let's go back to our browse gallery. So you'll notice once I've selected browse gallery, I have a sort by columns, and you'll notice that this says it's doing a search. So when I do a search items, it's going to search the comment, description, and location, and it's going to sort by the comment field. We actually want to change this to be, let's say, the owner field. So I can just type in here owner. Once we've done that, change the owner field, I can now apply, click off here, and I can actually do a search. So if I was to play this again, obviously I can search by anything. So anything lunchroom, it's going to show up. As you can see, the search working. But my sort is by owner, as you can see. So if I click on here, it's changing the sort. Something else I can do is create a collection. What a collection is basically it's an in-memory object that holds, it could be a data set of values, it could be typically it's a table or something. So I could have loaded all my locations or all my owners into a collection. So to create a new collection, let's go to the browse screen and let's go to the on visible. So anytime this form is visible, we're going to create a collection. So we would name it collect, and then we would provide the collection name we want to use. So it doesn't really matter what we call it. Collection, let's call it locations. And then what item is going to be in there. So to be the table. And right now, our only table of data sources assets. So I'm just actually going to X out of here for a second. We'll go and add data sets or other data sets, and then we'll go back and add the collection after. So to add the other data sources, we go view and click on data sources. So right now, the only data source we have is the assets table, but I could easily do a search for OneDrive, select our OneDrive storage. And as you can see, there's a lot of different data sets that are available to us. So, I have all sorts of different connectors. As you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds of different connectors from online sources to basically anything else I may want to connect to, SQL sources. So lots of different data sources available. In our case, everything's in Excel on OneDrive. So I'm just going to go back here and select OneDrive. This could be a SharePoint list as an example. So we'll select OneDrive for Business, select our connection again, and then it's going to ask which Excel spreadsheet we want to choose from our OneDrive. And I have these other tables, so I have owner and locations table, and we'll hit connect. This will create the connection to our other data sources within our app. So now we have all three of these available to us. So I'm going to go back. Currently, if I go to collections, I have no collections, as you can see here. I'm going to go back to collections, and we're going to create a collection. I'm going to give it a name, so collection locations, and then it's going to be our table, locations table. So I've created this collection now. So what will happen is if I'm to run this app and selecting this form, it's actually loaded that collection, and I could use a collection in some of these other fields. I'm just going to close this. So right now, if I go to my collections, I'll see I have a locations collection. And it doesn't have anything in it yet. Let's just see. So it was on the, let's go back to our tree view, browse screen. So on visible, it's going to load the collection with the data. So we'll try to run this again. So as you can see, I have locations and I have my different locations loaded into that collection. So I think it's up to, I can load up to 500 unique values into a collection. So collections allow you to, work with data a lot quicker. I could, load stuff into a collection and then pass that into my, data source afterwards. So just a faster way of collecting that data. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a drop-down instead of on our edit screen it being a free-form field that we can type into. We're going to supply a drop-down list of our locations on our edit screen. So we'll go to the edit screen and we'll select the locations card. So this is the card that says location. And as you can see, this field here is the actual field, that text input field, but we want that to be a drop-down field. So we're going to select, we're going to remove this first from here. So we removed location. Now we can re-add it. If I just click on Edit Fields, Add Field, I can re-add location. When I do that, I'm going to get selected with the edit type. Now I'm going to select the allowed values, which is a drop-down picture here. So now I've created a location drop-down, and I can move this around. So this could be up here, after, before owner. Next thing I want to do is select the actual drop-down box. The items property is allowed values. And if I click on advanced, right now it's locked. I have to unlock this particular field to be able to modify it. So I have the drop down, and we're going to set this to be equal to our table locations. So it's really that simple as just type in the table, and I think the field is location, so we'll just select locations. I only have one field, but if I had multiple fields, I want to specify the field I'm selecting. The other thing we have to do is on the card, which is what I'm selecting here, and you'll see that I can select the data card here. It's probably a good thing to name your fields as well versus just leaving them, letting the system name them, so it's easier to find things. So on the card, I want to select my drop-down field, and then select the More Options button, or sorry, not the drop-down field. I want to select the data card. So data card field, select the More Options button, and then I need to change the update value here so that when I do change the drop-down, that it actually updates the data card value. So this would be changed to the drop-down value or drop-down field which we've created, which is called data card value 12 dot select, and this will be locations. As you can see, it's giving us where it's actually updating, so it's updating the table assets, which is in our location field, which is what we want it to update when we do change the drop-down. So now that we've updated that value, we'll hit play. As you can see, I'm just going to close this, go back to our brown desk. It's set to lunchroom right now. Click the drop-down, click edit. We can change that to be boardroom. We'll hit save. Our brown desk is now location boardroom, as you can see. Next thing you want to do when working with apps is saving them. So under File, I have the Save As button. So I can go Save As, give it a name. So we'll call it Asset Tracking 1, let's call it. I can also give it a different icon, so I can save it in this location. If I go back to settings, we should have actually named it here, Asset Tracking 1. We'll give it a name, change the color, so we'll change it to, and we can change the icon here. As an example, we can give it a description. I can change the screen size, make it landscape or portrait app, and advanced settings. There's all sorts of settings under here. I can play around, turn off, different experimental features. Obviously, you don't want that in production apps, but lots of experimental things that are always coming out with Power Apps. So now that we've saved our app, we'll hit save. I can also share the app with other individuals within my organization. I can see different version control history of the app. So a lot of different navigation or ability to work with the app. So I could hit share here and actually share it out with put in people's email address. If I had other individuals within this organization, I could do that. And it'll send an email invite to those individuals. You can click on versions, see different version control, like I said, different connections that are being used in the app. I can even look at analytics, how many times has the app been used for the last 30 days, who's using it. So a lot of features within the app. Let's go back to home here. Let's go back to our app. So if I click on the app, I can actually run it. So let's show adding more items to the app. So if I hit the plus button, I'm going to get the create a new item. So it's desk 2, and it's in the downtown office. And let's say Tom owns this, and whatever the serial number is. Give it a comment, hit save. So as you can see, it just created that desk 2 downtown office. Tom, I can see more information, serial number associated with that item. So let's go back to our Power App. So that's me modifying the app. Let's go and edit the app again. Just want to walk through navigation and how navigation works. We'll cancel that. I think I already have it open here. Close out of here. So the way navigation works is if I'm on the browse screen, you'll notice that if I was to hover over this button, you'll notice it's on selecting this, it selects the parent, whatever I'm selecting in my gallery as an example. If I click on the plus button, you'll notice that what it does is it says on select, go to edit form, and then the navigate says go to edit screen. So the edit screen, it's called edit screen. So it actually navigates to that screen when I click on the plus button to go to that. Just like when I select this, it's going to parent item, which is actually navigating to the detail screen. Webinar recap. Today we reviewed screens, data sources, collections, navigation, and saving your app.